Hello, classmates! In this lesson, we will study Chapter 2, The Properties of Printing Paper. This chapter mainly includes 5 aspects: the appearance properties of paper, the basic physical properties of paper, the mechanical properties of paper, the chemical properties of paper, and the optical properties of paper. First, we enter Section 1, the appearance properties of paper. Appearance properties of paper refer to the characteristics of paper quality that can be judged by human senses without the aid of instruments. Poor appearance quality will not only reduce the printing effect of finished products, but also seriously turn products into waste. Moreover, the raised hard particles in the paper can damage printing components such as blankets, printing plates, and rubber rollers. Let's first look at the appearance defects of paper. Paper defects refer to any defects that are not within the allowable range of paper quality. Paper defects include some performance defects that are invisible and intangible, and can only be known through experiments or practice, such as ink penetration, fuzzing, powder shedding, and too strong absorbency. Some paper defects can be directly detected by the senses. The latter are called appearance paper defects. These defects can be caused by factors in the stock before paper making, improper technical operations or poor equipment during paper making, or poor factory environmental hygiene and storage. Common appearance paper defects include dust, spots, sand, hard blocks, holes, show-through, streaks, wrinkles, warping and arching, cracks, uneven paper edges, unclean paper edges, inconsistent color tone, incompleteness, broken sheets, and paper scraps, etc. The figure shows several common appearance paper defects. Next, we enter Section 2, Basic Physical Properties of Paper. In this section, we need to understand several concepts. The first is basis weight, which is the mass of paper per unit area. It is generally expressed as the mass per square meter of paper, with the unit grams per square meter. Its level and uniformity affect all physical, mechanical, optical, and printing properties of the paper. If the basis weight of the paper is significantly lower than the specified standard, it is not only prone to ink penetration, but also prone to paper breakage and wrinkling due to low mechanical strength. Conversely, if the basis weight of the paper is too high, it will waste raw materials and increase paper-making costs for the paper mill. In production, various papers generally allow an error of plus or minus 5% from the specified mass. The second concept, thickness, which refers to the degree of thickness of paper, is the thickness of paper or board measured directly between two measuring plates under a certain pressure. The unit is millimeter or micrometers. The size and uniformity of paper thickness are very important, as they affect the opacity and compressibility of the paper. The third concept, tightness, which refers to the degree of looseness or compactness of the paper structure, with the unit grams per cubic centimeter. It is determined by the type of fibers used in papermaking, the degree of beating, the dehydration condition during papermaking, wet pressing, etc. Papers produced by different papermaking processes have different tightness. For papers with the same basis weight, a larger thickness means a looser structure and lower tightness. According to the size of the tightness value, paper is generally divided into 3 levels. Low tightness paper, less than or equals 0.55 grams per cubic centimeter. Medium tightness paper, between 0.55 to 0.75 grams per cubic centimeter. High tightness paper, greater than or equals 75 grams per cubic centimeter. Generally, the tightness of non-coated printing paper should be controlled between 0.6 to 0.9 grams per cubic centimeter. Section 3, Surface Properties of Paper. First, let's understand the concept of smoothness. which is the degree of smoothness and evenness or unevenness and roughness of the paper surface. The smoothness of paper mainly depends on the paper-making raw materials and paper-making process. The smoothness of non-coated paper is mainly determined by the morphology of internal fibers, the distribution state of fibers, the finishing during fiber forming, the filling amount, and the degree of calintering. The smoothness of coated paper, in addition to the smoothness of the base paper, mainly depends on the quality of the coating thickness, the coating method, and the degree of calintering and glazing after coating. The smoothness of paper is divided into apparent smoothness and printing smoothness. Apparent smoothness, the smoothness of the paper surface in a free state. Printing smoothness, the smoothness of the paper under the action of printing pressure. Flatness, the ability of a single sheet of paper to closely adhere to a smooth plane, reflecting whether it is flat or uneven, warped or bulging. Using paper with low flatness is prone to minor wrinkles during printing, local dirt on the printed text and blank parts, and even unclear text contours with blurred halos. Absorbency, the ability of paper to absorb liquids, i.e., the ability to allow liquid substances to penetrate and diffuse into its interior. Surface strength, the firmness of the bonding of each component of the paper, which indicates the paper's ability to resist ink-splitting force during the printing process. The surface strength of paper is generally expressed by its ability to resist fuzzing. The surface strength of paper is affected by the tightness of the paper, water content, and changes in relative air humidity. Think about how the surface strength of paper affects printing quality. In the printing process, if the surface strength of the paper is low, it will not only seriously harm the product quality, but also affect the printing efficiency. The main manifestations are as follows. First, damage to the image and text parts. Second, ink piling, making the image on the printed matter blurred. Third, increased cleaning times of the blanket and ink rollers in offset printing. Section 4, Mechanical properties of paper. Tensile strength, the maximum tension that a unit width of paper can withstand before breaking under the conditions specified in the standard test method, with the unit kilonewtons per meter. Tensile strength mainly depends on the bonding force between fibers and the strength of the fibers themselves. To eliminate the influence of paper basis weight and thickness. For comparing the tensile strength of different types of paper, it is often expressed by breaking length and tensile index. Note that tensile strength is a very important index for newsprint, offset book paper, offset paper, and other papers printed on rotary presses. Folding endurance, the ability of paper to withstand reciprocating folding at 180 degrees under a certain tension, expressed by the number of double folds, or the logarithm, base 10, of the number of double folds. The level of folding endurance depends on the length, strength, flexibility of the fibers used to make the paper, and the bonding force between fibers. The relationship between folding endurance and printing. It is very important for on-machine folding of heat-set dried printed matter, because the paper becomes brittle due to rapid dehydration when passing through the drying section, and the paper is prone to breaking during folding operations. Many papers need to withstand many reciprocating folds during use, such as banknote paper, map paper, book cover paper, security paper, and account paper, which require strong folding endurance. Note the difference between folding endurance and foldability. Foldability refers to the property of some papers that do not develop cracks, slits, coating peeling, or other unsightly folding defects on the folding belt surface when folded. Tearing strength, the force required to tear a paper sheet a certain distance. There are two types of tearing strength in paper. One is internal tearing strength, and the other is end tearing strength. Internal tearing strength refers to the force required to tear a paper from a pre-cut notch of a certain length to a certain distance. End tearing strength refers to the force required to tear along one edge of the paper by a force in the same plane, with the unit N, which indicates the force required to tear the complete edge of the paper. Paper with high end tearing strength does not necessarily have high internal tearing strength. For example, cellophane has high end tearing strength, but low internal tearing strength. The force required to tear paper includes two parts. One is the force to pull the fibers apart, and the other is the force to break the fibers. Stiffness, the ability of paper to resist bending. The thickness of paper is the most important factor affecting stiffness, followed by tightness. For example, if the tightness is constant, the stiffness is proportional to the cube of the thickness. If the basis weight is constant, the stiffness is proportional to the square of the thickness. And at a certain thickness, the stiffness is proportional to the tightness. Elasticity and plasticity of paper. When an external force acts on the paper, it causes a certain degree of compressive deformation. If the paper can completely return to its original state after the external force is removed, it is called the elasticity of the paper. If it cannot return or cannot completely return to its original state, it is called the plasticity of the paper. For printing paper, good elasticity is required. When paper is subjected to stress, three changes will occur: instantaneous elastic deformation, anelastic deformation, and stress relaxation. Section 5. Chemical properties of paper. The chemical properties of paper mainly depend on the type of raw materials used, the pulping and bleaching methods and degrees, the types of non-fiber components added, and the processing and treatment after paper forming. For special purposes such as carbon paper, photographic paper, and blueprint paper, their chemical properties are relatively complex, but for printing paper, their chemical properties are relatively simple. Here, we focus on discussing the moisture content, ash content, sizing degree, acidity and alkalinity, and durability of paper. Moisture content of paper. The percentage of the weight of water contained in the paper to the total weight of the paper under the specified drying temperature, 105 plus or minus 2 degrees Celsius. The ratio of the reduced weight to the original weight of the sample when the paper is dried to constant weight, expressed as a percentage. The bonding between fibers is always mediated by water and is almost reversible. However, the moisture content of paper should be appropriate. Paper with too low moisture content is prone to brittleness and excessive static electricity on the printing press. If the moisture content of paper is too high, the elasticity of the paper decreases, the absorbency weakens, and faults such as deformation, curling, and slow ink drying are prone to occur. The moisture content of general printing paper is about 4 to 10%. Ash content of paper. The ratio of the mass of residue after burning the paper at a specified temperature to the absolute dry mass of the original sample, expressed as a percentage. The ash content in paper may come from fillers used for filling, pigments used for coating, trace minerals such as silicon dioxide in pulp fibers, inorganic salts such as calcium, potassium, manganese, sodium, and phosphorus as the main components of ash in wood, and dust falling into the pulp from the air. Non-organic substances from pipes and mechanical equipment. The ash content of newsprint is generally below 5%. Letterpress paper generally contains 15 to 25% ash. Offset book paper has an ash content of about 10 to 20%. And coated printing paper has an ash content of 20 to 45% or higher. Acidity and alkalinity of paper. determined by the method of cold or hot water extract. Generally, the pH value of paper should be neutral. But in reality, most non-coated printing papers have a pH value between 4.5 to 7, often weakly acidic. Most coated papers have a pH value between 7 to 9, weakly alkaline. However, the pH value of any type of paper will decrease with storage time. This is caused by the chemical reaction between carbon dioxide in the air and the water in the paper to form weak acids. The acidity in paper is mainly caused by alum added to the stock during internal sizing, and is also related to residual organic acids and bleaching residues in the pulp. Alkalinity is mainly caused by the action of alkaline fillers and pigments. Resistance. Whether the properties of paper change during use and storage. Paper with good resistance can not only obtain relatively good printing quality during printing, but also has a long storage life. Generally, paper made from seed hair and bast fibers has good resistance, while paper produced from stem fibers has poor resistance. Paper produced by the chemical pulping method has better resistance than that produced by the mechanical pulping method. The durability of paper is jointly determined by internal and external factors. Internal factors include the type and quality of pulp, sizing agents, coatings, the content of acids and metal compounds, and other components in the paper sheet, which are all determined by the pulping and papermaking process. External factors refer to the storage or use conditions of the paper, such as temperature, humidity, and air pollution levels. Sizing degree. The ability to form resistance to liquid penetration by adding or coating hydrophobic sizing agents to the paper. The sizing degree of paper mainly depends on the amount of sizing, the type and method of sizing, and is also related to the amount of aluminum sulfate used, water hardness, pH value, and the tightness of the formed paper. When the sizing agent is evenly adhered to the fibers or paper surface, it will reduce the hydrophilicity of the paper, thereby enhancing the paper's resistance to liquid penetration. The sizing degree of printing paper is generally measured by the ink line drawing method, expressed by the line width millimeter that does not diffuse or penetrate when drawing with standard ink. The larger the line width, the higher the sizing degree. In the final section, we will study the optical properties of paper. The optical properties of paper mainly include whiteness, opacity, and glossiness, which determine the reflection, transmission, and absorption of light irradiated on the paper. The main influencing factors generally include the type of stock, the stock processing method and paper forming method, the sizing agents, fillers, dyes, surface coating, and finishing treatments contained in the paper. Whiteness of paper. The degree of whiteness of paper. Ideal whiteness has a diffuse reflectance of 100% for visible light of all wavelengths. White paper can truly and objectively reflect all the colors of printed images and texts, improve the contrast and clarity of text, make reproductions colorful, and achieve the effect of both images and texts. The whiteness of printing paper for different purposes varies. From the perspective of protecting children's vision, the whiteness of paper for children's textbooks is 75 to 76%. Generally, letterpress paper and offset book paper for printing book texts do not require very high whiteness, generally about 80 to 85%. Offset paper and coated paper for printing rich images and text should generally have a whiteness of more than 90%. Glossiness. The degree of closeness of the paper surface to the ability of a perfect mirror to reflect light. The higher the glossiness of the paper, the more its surface can reflect light like a mirror, creating a bright or shiny appearance. Opacity, the ability of paper to resist light from passing through its interior. Okay, classmates, that's all for this lesson. See you in the next lesson.